have an idea of what it was all about, but I'm glad to see it still going. I think that was about 2 years ago. So it's definitely been an event that that's giving back to the community and helping kind of encourage these networking pieces, as well as the Venture Center. We've actually hired somebody that we met through the Venture Center in the last few months. But no, as Spencer said, my name is Keith Holzman. I'm one of the co-founders of Treatsie. The idea for Treatsie came about, I kind of adjust this story because it's part of the same story I used to tell. That several years ago, I was traveling, selling electronic medical records on the West Coast. It was Colorado was the closest state to me in my territory, so I'd be anywhere from California to Washington. Never got to make it up to Alaska. But, did a lot of traveling. I was on a plane every other week, and one of the things I would do is I noticed these little sweet shops all around the country. And so I was fairly newly married at the time, and I would always bring back this little chocolate ball or box of chocolates, just something small and fairly inexpensive that was locally made from somewhere, other than Arkansas. And I noticed these shops were proliferating throughout the United States. Everywhere I went, there were these sweet shops popping up, and they were all putting up websites trying to sell their products online. I didn't think a whole lot about it at that point, but then it was around Christmas, I went and thought, I'll get her a box of chocolates, but instead of something I can get locally, because there weren't a whole lot of sweet shops available. Cocoa Rouge didn't exist at the time. Izzard Chocolate didn't exist at the time. I thought, I'll go online and I'll do a quick search and I'll find something to buy. It'll be fairly easy. So I went to Google, searched artisan chocolates or something like that, and I got 8 million results. And everybody had a website. Everybody says theirs are the best. All their local media says theirs are the best. And it was really hard to find something I thought might actually be worth trying. And so I went to Bon Appetit. I thought, well, they'll at least filter the national view of it. And they had 4 different chocolatiers on their website, fairly recent articles, about 6 months old. I started clicking on them. 3 of the 4, 2 of them were out of business. 1 of them didn't have a product that was available anymore. And I just really didn't trust the other one anymore. I was like, well, they're only batting 25% to even have a product still available. So I didn't wind up making a purchase, and that bothered me. Because for me, it's always been a matter of when, not if, I was going to do something. I was always selling things like soft drinks in college, stuff like that on the internet. I found that there are regionally available soft drinks that you can only get in certain specific areas, and people in other areas pay a lot of money in some instances. But about that time, my wife was one of the first 1,000 subscribers to Birchbox. And so that was when it kind of occurred to me that there's a lot of similarities in the way that people purchase premium luxury goods such as chocolate, and then a premium thing such as premium cosmetic, as opposed to you can get an inexpensive cosmetic at Walmart, you can get an expensive candy at Walmart. But people buy the nicer things, but for the way it makes them feel, for the perceived value, things like that. So that was where the idea for Treatsie came about. This is what Treatsie looked like just a few years ago. We did a Kickstarter in 2013, and actually launched our product sales in March of 2013. We sold out in 3 days, and it was 2 guys operating out of my house in a church for our fulfillment. We had a lot of free help, and we thought we were on to something, doing $30 a day in revenue. That's barely more than a hobby, but we thought we were on to something. And so we decided to introduce our e-commerce store in July. We realized we had something much bigger on our hands from a time commitment, potential-wise, opportunity. So we did a financing round in late 2013 to be able to go full-time. We moved into 1,000 square feet on West Markham, and it was a place one of our board members actually asked to never have a board meeting again because he asked specifically to never have to go back to the get-go again. This particular location was a little seedy, but it worked. It got us to where we're at today. So we decided to do a brand refresh with one of our investors. We now have 8 people and growing on packing days, which if anybody's in the mood to packing boxes, we start to pack tomorrow and Friday. We have up to 20 people packing on those days to get the boxes out. We use temporary labor for that. We have customers in all 50 states. Can't say exactly what the revenue is today. We will be at the mid-7 figures this year for the year. Needless to say, we're no longer doing $30 a day in revenue. We've been recognized by Candy Industry Magazine as potentially the future of the candy industry. for the way we're working on our next phase, which is house brands. We're launching in the second quarter of this year. So we're taking all this consumer data that we're building up on taste preferences and what products people are buying down to the zip code, and we're going to be able to launch our own products here in the second quarter of this year. We're going to do that with several different house brands. That's something we're really excited about. It's going to give us the ability to get products to our customers they actually want, because the innovation tends to happen at the micro level, and we get a little bigger to the point where we're at today, shipping around 5,000 boxes in the next 10 days. There's not as many small makers that can actually fulfill that demand. So after I noticed these different pieces of the candy industry, I started doing a little more research, and I noticed that even through the recession, the specialty foods market had been growing at just an astronomical rate. 10 years ago, it was in the teens of billions of dollars, and the most recent numbers had it over $104 billion annually. And the individualized sweets and snacks market is the fastest growing segment within that category. But with that, all of that being said, we can't be blind to what's happening in retail. Your stores such as Whole Foods, Walmart, Target, Fresh Market, they're not quitting building stores, they're building smaller stores. Whole Foods, 7 years ago, was building 52,000 square foot stores. Today they're building 38,000 square foot stores. So they're having more products buy for less and less shelf space. And so the companies such as ourselves are trying to position our new products in a way where instead of the traditional path to market for these products, where you say we're going to test it regionally, or test it locally, then go regional, then go national, we're going to Whole Foods and these other partners with data that says, here's what sells well in these zip codes. These products, don't mess with them outside of these zip codes. There are a few other companies doing this in other CPG categories, that's just consumer packaged goods. Nature Box is one of the big ones doing it for healthy snacks. We've had a lot of conversations with them about what they do, and they've been able to learn a lot about how they're building their business. But it's what makes us really excited to get up and come to work every morning, is the consumer packaged goods space is ripe for innovation. So how we do that is each month we have a curated selection of sweets that goes out in our monthly box. I do know there are several subscribers here in the room, and thank you for that, first of all. But each month we curate these selections of products, which are $19.95 for our standard box with several other options available. And we ship it out around the 15th, and it arrives to consumers' doorsteps anywhere between 2 to 7 days later. And so we try to find products they're not going to find currently on their store shelves. Maybe brands available at Target or Whole Foods, but we try to find the product. If Target has 2 of the products available from that particular brand, we try to get their 3rd, 4th, and 5th best sellers. That way we can introduce a known brand to a consumer with a different product. And this is yet again before our private label. Our business model consists of 2 unique pieces. We have the monthly subscription box, which like I said was $19.95, and it accounts for 60% of our revenue. But the other big piece of our business is the e-commerce store. And this is how we judge what's a winner and what's a loser. It's very clear. What people come back and vote with their dollars to buy more of becomes a winner. What they don't buy more of becomes a loser, and we get rid of it. We sell it out fast and move on. This is one of our previous monthly boxes. You can see kind of the variety we try to strike in different months, everything from biscotti to chocolate. This is a variation on a turtle, and some different caramels in there. We typically acquire customers through various means, like any online business. It's a mix of paid, influencer marketing, and email marketing. The big thing is for us to find a way to get an email address. If you're paying for an audience online, that's fine. But if you can get that email address, it becomes golden because you can communicate with them in different ways. Maybe you had a bad offer for that particular customer at the beginning. You can segment and retarget in different ways. So where we fit in the competitive landscape, there'll be some brands you may be aware of here. Of course, Amazon Candy Club is growing really fast. There's Godiva, Harry and David. Dean and DeLuca is a big one. What we've tried to go after is a broader market appeal with high margin SKUs. So we don't want to be necessarily a Dean and DeLuca. That's fine, but it's not for everybody. We want to be that personal luxury, that affordable luxury you're going to buy for yourself. Somewhere between $6 and $9 for a chocolate bar tends to be about what somebody will spend on themselves. And then if you're buying a bag of cookies, it's around $12. We've got some different data points on that. But that's where we're trying to position ourselves. we've had the opportunity to get picked up by a lot of national media and develop some national partnerships, and that's been great. Some you don't see up here, things such as InStyle Magazine, the Today Show picked us up around Christmas for their website, and a few other things. One of the biggest areas for us growth-wise is going to be this private label piece. You can see why it becomes really attractive from a business perspective, the 50 to 70% increase in margins, and that's on the store products. But it also enables us to create the products consumers want. Right now, consumers are buying products on the store shelves that are from trends that were popular 18 to 24 months ago, because that's how long it takes a standard consumer packaged goods company to test and get a product to market. Of course, we couldn't do this without a great team of employees and advisors. Some people here you may be aware of course, the two co-founders there. We just recently brought in Kelly Marks, who had Sweet Love Bakery in Cantrell. She had a background in copywriting at Cranford Johnson Robinson Woods before that. And so she also knew sweets. When we heard she was going to be looking for something different, we pounced on that because we needed to up our game content-wise. We want to have recipes. We want to become that place where, I don't know if you're familiar with Tasting Table or Food 52, some of these new food pieces. We want that to be part of our site for sweets. And she is executing on an amazing content plan right now. But one of the things I feel strongly about is that Arkansas has several things we can do really well. One of them is e-commerce and consumer packaged goods. There's quite a few examples in Northwest Arkansas of this happening right now, and that's one of these men on this page, actually two of them, have had a lot to do with that, and both up at Acumen Brands, and now John getting into some new pieces with AC Ventures. But we've had an incredible amount of support from Central and Northwest Arkansas, and we're very thankful for that. But anyway, that's for a question for Councilman. What I have for a little bit about Treatsie.
Okay, we're going to open up to questions now. Everybody give a round of applause for that. We're going to open up to questions. I'm going to start real quick. It seems like you guys grew pretty fast, and I know I've heard from a lot of people that sometimes you can grow too fast, and if it's going too aggressively, it's hard to control it, keep the wheels on. Can you talk about if you ever experienced that, and if you did, kind of what were the tactics you used to make sure that handle growth?
Well, there's always a balance between growing fast enough to keep everything right, keeping the team excited, keeping everyone motivated, and growing too fast to where growth becomes the only goal with the absence of building a stable business. There are examples all the time, especially in e-commerce, you can look at whether they be Guild.com, One Kings Lane, Fab.com, that they focus strictly on acquiring a bunch of new customers or people to their side and didn't actually focus on how they were going to build a business. In Guild, there were some market factors there. But when we've been shown that, Guild or Fab or whoever built at this rate, I've always had a quick retort, and that's where are they now? And Guild wound up being the ultimate flash sale for a brand. It was worth $1 billion and it sold for $250 million. So they didn't build a business sustainably. So we want to grow fast and aggressive. And that requires certain sacrifices, but you also have to be mindful. It's different for every business to make sure you keep the lights on and the doors open. So,
Questions?
Keith, Jordan Carlisle, for those if you're watching. You mentioned the rollout in Q2 of the private label stuff and how you're leveraging your existing data from what products you've sold down to the zip code. I think it's a brilliant idea. The only concern I have, and wondering if you can give some insight on it, is what happens to the story of those brands, and do people buy for that, or do you pretty much know that they're going to buy it because they just want the taste of the chocolate?
So when we started Treatsie, one of the biggest pieces of our vision, and there are a few people here in the room who saw some of our very first pitches. One of the biggest pieces of our vision was there's all these makers out there, and we're going to go tell the story of these makers. One of the most disappointing things to me was people didn't care. That sounds callous and crass, but it became true. We looked at the numbers. People weren't actually visiting the maker pages. They wanted great products. They didn't care about the story. They were some of the least visited pieces of our site. A great story is integral for every brand. I agree with that. But when it came to consumers buying chocolate on the internet, especially things they wanted to try them, and the great chocolates would sell. It didn't matter if it was a big brand or a small shop that didn't have the same story. We are working very carefully, and it's one of the reasons we haven't talked too much publicly. We've said, hey, we're building our own brands. They're all going to have a reason for their existence. We're not just going after every single sweets category we can. We want to craft the stories very carefully on these. We're working with some people to help us do that, because you can create and innovate as a company. It doesn't have to be a small individualized maker. But there's very few instances where people really cared about the story for us, and that was kind of one of those first kind of pivots we had to make as a business. Was we quit telling the stories. We were investing a decent amount of money in content creation to tell the story of makers, and it just didn't wind up caring.
Do you have any fear of maybe some of that inspiration and innovation you get from the curation process, like filtering out what people like and don't like, might run dry because your sources might say we don't want to do it anymore, or we don't want to provide for you?
Not necessarily. One of the things that we've, that's a legitimate concern, but a lot of the people who get scared about a bigger company taking over whatever it is they're doing, what we found is they don't want to grow their business either. So it's one of those things where we either take control of that innovation. One of the positions we're looking to add to our staff this year is a food scientist. We're looking for our own personal Willy Wonka. We want to be able to create the Franken Twinkie and all these things. I want those amazing stories, those amazing products that tell their own story when the time is right. We're not looking at this as, hey, let's go find somebody doing something really well and knock them off. We want to be very careful to draw that line. There are a few brands that we do want to keep. And so the way we've been telling that story is if they can't do the fulfillment, we want to keep them involved. We don't want to cut it out to where we're not finding these new products anymore. We're going to set up a marketplace where they'll be available to put their products there and get exposure and tell the story through the content piece of the site. But if they're bigger, if they're just big enough to where they might work with us in the future, we're working on a licensing method to where we'll be able to input their products in the box. We give them credit, but it becomes XYZ by Treatsie, and they get a royalty for their recipe and things like that, which is a model you're seeing start to pop up, so they can not worry as much about scaling their business, because a lot of them don't want to build, and it sounds kind of weird to people in the room, but they don't want to build big businesses. They want to be artistic and create new products. And so we want to be able to give them that outlet through our licensing mechanisms, where it's not a brand we necessarily own, but we license it for X number of years and pay them a royalty, and we plug it into our existing manufacturing network.
Thank you.
Hello.
Elise Stroud, been a huge fan of Treatsie since day one. I'd like for you to talk about how you went about building your board of advisors, and perhaps also talk about why it's all men when women are, huge fans of chocolate.
That was our board of directors. So for clarification, we call them advisors. That's how you do the board of directors. And then the only two not on our board of directors are John James and David Choi, and they're on that slide, and they have a deep consumer packaged goods knowledge. That's a great question, and we haven't addressed it. We actually have more women that work for us at Treatsie, and are the highest paid employees for us, actually. But I don't have a great answer for why we don't have more women on the board of advisors, to be perfectly frank. We don't have a formal board of advisors. We do have some advisors. We have some women out of San Francisco who we've worked with. One is going to be guest curating a box for us, and she works in the food space, covering small makers. But yeah, that's a great question. I'd love to talk more about that later. So that is a great question.
Any more questions?
I have one question. What do you see the pitfalls that you're facing? Well, there's going to be something you probably don't know like that, but what do you see? What's going to be the thing that makes you go, oh, I'm going to talk about that?
I wish I could say what all those are going to be, because then I probably wouldn't run into them, to be perfectly frank. one is being reliant on Facebook as a channel for new customer acquisition. It's one of the reasons we brought in Kelly Marks to help lead up our content effort. And we do see being reliant on Facebook as a potential risk. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg has changed the motto of Facebook from move fast and break things to move fast with info, which is kind of weird. But if anybody works on the back end of Facebook, and the business manager, I don't know about the ads manager, but the business manager and the power editor, they still break things a lot back there. On a daily basis, things go wrong on the back end of Facebook, and with it being a large customer acquisition channel, we have to have a number of people dedicated to just making sure it works in the right space. So,
What's the marketing side?
Marketing and, when we launch our own brands, making sure that they ring true with an authenticity of why they exist. So we're not going to be telling a maker story behind them, but making sure that, and we've been very deliberate when we come up with these recipes, that we're not carrying competitive products now or in the last 12 months. The only one that's remotely could be considered competitive, that guy went out of business about 13 months ago. He just decided he'd rather jump on the trampoline. He's still in business, but he quit wholesaling. He makes candy bars locally and won't sell to anybody online because he doesn't want to build a big business where he has a lot of employees. He wants to be self-employed. And so I told him, I was like, well, we're gonna make this product. It was one of our top 3 selling products, which is actually a big risk with working with smaller vendors. At any given moment, one of them could close up shop. Carla Hall just closed her bakery. I don't know, she's a celebrity TV chef and had an Alchemy brand of cookies. And she's able to make a lot more money being on TV than she was with her Alchemy brand. And, from what I understand, it was at least profitable, but not making as much. It was taking too much time. And so it just didn't seem to have the right fit for her. And they were good products. We bought quite a bit as she was going out of business to have inventory of them. But there's, the pitfalls are out there for everything. I mean, that's why we do try to talk to as many advisors. When we first met John James at Acumen, we told him the model. He had just got done saying, hey, don't go raise money, don't go raise money, don't go raise money. We told him our model, and within a minute, he said, you're going to need to raise money. He talked for an hour about not raising money, and within 1 minute, he said, you're going to need to raise money. And he said, you're going to need to get away from this, the subscription box is great, but you're going to need to get to where you sell additional products to people because you're going to run into this wall. And so we try to surround ourselves with people who have built things. It doesn't have to be e-commerce, it can be anything, because people can see those different things. Mr. Chamberlain and I were having some conversations about that this morning. Just surrounding ourselves with people who have built different businesses and can kind of point to where those pitfalls may be. I wish I knew where they all were, but
You named the 2 that came to my mind. That is really your suppliers, your vendors, what you're buying from. That's going to be your biggest issue. You got someone right in front of anyone. That's a great thing that's going to happen. Couldn't happen in your industry.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of innovation, but there's also a lot of, the vendors we work with are no different than any other small business category out there. Every small business is risky, and very frankly, most of them don't make it. And so, as we start growing and some of our bigger vendors disappear, the bigger ones tend to stay, but the smaller ones where the innovation is happening, they seem to be. They'll get some steam and they'll run out, or they just won't want to continue it anymore, or you just never know. So,
Last question right here.
Hey, this is Luke Urban with the South. So I have 2 questions. One, I know you've done a lot for Facebook, but have you dived into Instagram ads, and how has that worked in comparison with Facebook ads? And the second question is, either with your brand or through any of the brands you're working with, are y'all looking into Snapchat yet in terms of having that as a revenue to start bringing in more customers?
So both very good questions again. So Instagram, yes, we weren't quite spending enough on Facebook or working with one of their preferred partners to get in on the earliest tests on Instagram. We got in whenever it became there was about 10 days there when people could actually get access to it before they announced that people could get access to it. And we were getting involved then before they announced it. And it's been a good channel for us, not a great channel. Still something we're figuring out exactly how to get people to convert on there in a quick fashion. one of the things we're looking at Instagram for is part of our greater content strategy and promoting people to get them to our content pieces. It's a much lower cost than it is to getting someone to convert. But if we can get them to the site, get them to sign up for our content emails, and subtly, not very heavily handed, but subtly market them with the Treatsie monthly box at certain different times, or with a product that may match one of our content pieces. One of the things Kelly's working on for us right now is, some cocktails that are made with different Treatsie sweets. And so, just some different ways to find creative uses for our products there. And that's where we see Instagram coming in handy. I've had conversations with countless people about Snapchat. I honestly didn't understand Snapchat about a year ago. I thought it was an app for teens and tweens that I needed to stay away from because I just didn't want that on my phone, didn't want the questions from my wife, but why I had Snapchat on my phone. So I stayed away from it for a while. And then I started talking to some VCs out of San Francisco. And, Facebook, it's known that it's a known channel. Everybody knows what it is. Instagram is pretty much viewed the same way in San Francisco and New York circles, that you're not going to arbitrage Facebook or Instagram for this hockey stick growth curve anymore, kind of like what Acumen did with Country Outfitter, which everybody else pays a lot more because of now. But Snapchat still has that possibility. I've talked with some pretty decent sized companies, and no one seems to have figured it out yet. But everyone believes it's the next app with the most likely ability to help a business scale. And those first few businesses who take the Country Outfitter, Nature Box, there's a few others that did it on Facebook, that take that path on Snapchat will have some pretty substantial benefits. We haven't begun our Snapchat efforts. That is on our roadmap with a bunch of content. That's how we're going to push it up first, is content first. Because it has to be something on there people want to receive from you. But we're excited about the potential there, simply because it is a fast-growing channel. It's where a lot of the millennials are at right now. The millennials are changing the way products are being created. That's definitely who we want in that audience. Facebook has a little more mature audience for us. They tend to purchase more, which we want that. But then as we build up both sides of the business, we want to have it all, as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I don't think people have figured out the way to use Snapchat to market yet, because if you look at the brands that are doing it on the page, it's very different on it. Each person's trying to do it a different way. So that's a good question. We'll end it with one final thing, and this is where Keith is going to ask one thing to the entire crowd, anything that can help you personally, in your business, anything that you want help from the crowd.
I think the biggest thing is if for us, it's always talent and recruiting. If you're aware of anybody who wants a job at a startup, whether it be marketing, technical, if they want to work in customer service, or if they want to work in packing, whatever it is, that's the biggest thing for us, is making sure we have our recruiting pipeline as full as possible. We need people to grow. One of the things we realized very early on is that we couldn't do it all ourselves, so we had to start adding people. The same at least if you have anybody that might be a good advisory member, anything like that, because we don't know everyone. And so actually through the Venture Center, Lee sent out an email, he's around somewhere. Somebody was looking for a job, and I happened to be looking for somebody to fill the job, and so wound up actually hiring that individual who was in the prior pre-flight class. So anybody that's looking for any type of career that might benefit startups.
Well, cool. Talent pipeline is what I'm hearing. So you guys be thinking on that. Let's give another big round of applause to Keith. Excellent presentation. Next week we have Identify. So it's going to be another really good one. So make sure you're here for that. Also, if you haven't yet, follow this man on Instagram. Follow Treatsie, retweet it, get on that Instagram. Thank you guys for coming out. This was a really good one. Questions were good. Obviously, this entrepreneur is amazing. So come back next week and hang out. There's still hot coffee. And have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Woo.